The massive arena on Nexus Prime Station hummed with energy. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the curved seats that rose high above the fighting circle. The air buzzed with excited chatter in dozens of languages. Today was special. Today, the undefeated champion would fight again. Vextor stood in the center of the arena floor, his massive form casting a long shadow under the bright lights. He was 9 feet tall and built like a mountain. His thick green skin looked like natural armor plating. Sharp claws extended from his fingers, each one longer than a human hand. His yellow eyes scanned the crowd with cold confidence. For 3 years, no one had beaten him. Not once. The arena announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. The creature had 6 arms and spoke in the common galactic language that most species could understand. Citizens of the galaxy, welcome to another day of combat challenges. Our champion, Vextor of the Saurian Empire, remains undefeated after 147 matches. The crowd roared. Some cheered for the champion. Others hoped today would be different. Many just wanted to see a good fight. Vextor raised one clawed hand, and the noise grew louder. He enjoyed the attention. He had earned it through blood and victory. Every species in known space had sent warriors to challenge him. All had failed. The first challenger entered the arena from the opposite side. It was a being made of living crystal from the outer rim worlds. The creature moved slowly but with purpose. Its body caught the arena lights and threw rainbow patterns. Across the walls, the challenger stands 7 feet tall and weighs 400 pounds, the announcer said. It has natural crystal armor and can strike with the force of a falling meteor. Vextor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. He had fought crystal beings before. They were tough but slow. The fight would be over quickly. The starting bell rang. Vextor moved with surprising speed for his size. He crossed the arena in 3 long strides. The crystal being tried to block his attack, but Vextor was too fast. His claws found gaps in the crystal armor. Within seconds, cracks appeared across the challenger's body. The crystal being fought back, landing one solid hit that would have shattered the bones of most creatures. Vextor barely flinched. His own natural armor absorbed the impact. He grabbed the challenger and lifted it above his head. The crowd held its breath. Vextor threw the crystal being to the ground. The impact created a web of cracks that spread across its entire body. The challenger tried to stand, but pieces of crystal fell away. It raised one hand in surrender. Victory to Vextor in 2 minutes and 38 seconds, the announcer declared. The crowd erupted again. Some cheered, others groaned as they lost their bets. Vextor stood over his defeated opponent, arms raised in triumph. Medical crews rushed onto the arena floor to help the crystal being. The creature would heal, but it would take months. Another challenger had learned the hard way that Vextor was not just strong, he was smart. He knew exactly where to strike to end fights quickly. The second challenger entered as the medical crews left. This one had 6 arms and blue skin. It carried a different weapon in each hand. The crowd murmured with interest. Multi-armed fighters were rare and dangerous. From the Centauri system, a warrior with 6 centuries of combat experience, the announcer said. Each arm can strike independently with deadly precision. Vextor studied his new opponent. 6 arms meant 6 different attacks to watch. But he had fought similar creatures before. The key was not to let them set up their attack patterns. The bell rang again. This time Vextor was more careful. The 6-armed warrior was faster than the crystal being. Its weapons moved in a blur, creating a wall of steel between them. But Vextor had patience. He circled slowly, looking for an opening. The warrior made the first mistake. It tried to press its advantage with all 6 weapons at once. For a moment, all its arms were committed to attacking. Vextor ducked low and swept the warrior's legs. As it fell, he struck upward with both claws. The warrior hit the ground hard. Two of its weapons scattered across the arena floor. It tried to roll away, but Vextor was already there. One massive foot pinned the warrior's torso to the ground. "Yield!" Vextor growled in the warrior's own language. The six-armed fighter looked, up at the claws hovering inches from its face. It dropped its remaining weapons. "Victory to Vextor in 5 minutes and 12 seconds, the announcer said. 2 victories in less than 8 minutes total. The crowd was getting restless. They wanted to see a real fight, not more quick defeats. Some began calling for stronger challengers. Others started leaving their seats. Vextor noticed the crowd's mood. He needed worthy opponents to keep the arena profitable. Weak challengers were bad for business and boring for him. He had not had a real fight in months. The announcer consulted its data pad. "We have one more challenger today. This entry is unusual. The contestant is listed as human, from the planet Terra in the Sol system." The crowd buzzed with confusion. Most species had heard of humans, but few had seen them fight. Earth had only joined galactic society 50 years ago. Humans were known as explorers and diplomats, not warriors. "The human fighter weighs 180 pounds and stands 6 feet tall," the announcer continued. "This species is new to galactic combat sports." Many in the crowd laughed. A 6-foot, 180-pound creature against Vextor seemed like a joke. The betting odds shifted heavily in favor of another quick victory. Vextor was less amused than curious. He had never fought a human before. From what he knew, they were one of the smaller intelligent species. They had no natural armor, no claws, no obvious weapons. They seemed to rely on tools and technology to survive, but arena rules were clear. No advanced technology, no energy weapons, no powered armor, just basic weapons and natural abilities. A human with basic weapons against him would be even easier than the crystal being. The arena doors opened for the 3rd time that day. Vextor expected to see a small, weak creature stumbling into the arena in fear. Instead, something unexpected happened. 2 figures entered the arena together. The first was indeed human, just as the announcer had described. Male, 6 feet tall, wearing simple combat gear. He carried a plain wooden staff and moved with quiet confidence. The second figure was much smaller. It had 4 legs, pointed ears, and a long tail. Its fur was brown and black. It stayed close to the human's side, alert and ready. The crowd fell silent. This was unprecedented. No challenger had ever brought an animal companion before. Vextor stared at the pair. The human looked calm, almost relaxed. The 4-legged creature sat beside him, watching Vextor with intelligent eyes. "What is the meaning of this?" Vextor called out in galactic standard. The human stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was steady and respectful. "I am Captain Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Corps. This is my combat partner, Barum. On my world, humans and dogs have fought together for thousands of years. We are requesting permission to compete as a team." The word dog meant nothing to most of the crowd, but the concept of team fighting was shocking. Combat in the arena had always been individual contests of strength and skill. The announcer consulted frantically with arena officials. The rules had never addressed this situation. After several minutes of heated discussion, a decision was reached. "The challenge is approved," the announcer declared. "Arena rules allow natural abilities and partnerships that are part of a species' normal combat behavior. The human and his animal companion will fight as one contestant." The crowd exploded into excited chatter. This was something completely new. Nobody knew what to expect. Vextor looked down at his opponents again. The human seemed too calm for someone about to die. The dog never stopped watching him, as if studying his every move. For the first time in months, Vextor felt a tiny spark of interest. This might not be as boring as he had expected, but it would still be over quickly. He was certain of that. 2 hours before the arena matches began, Captain Hyunwoo sat quietly in the registration area of Nexus Prime Station. Beside him, Baram lay with his head on his paws, brown eyes alert and watching everything around them. The dog's ears moved, slightly each time someone walked past. The registration hall was filled with strange creatures from across the galaxy. Some had scales, others had fur or feathers. A few seemed to be made of energy or liquid metal. All of them were here for the same reason. They wanted to challenge the champion. Hyunwoo had studied recordings of Vextor's fights for weeks. The CO, reptilian warrior, was incredibly strong and fast. His natural armor could stop most weapons. His claws could cut through steel. But Hyunwoo had noticed something else in the recordings, something that gave him hope. Vextor always fought the same way. He relied on his size and strength to overwhelm opponents quickly. He had never faced an enemy that could adapt to his tactics or work as a team. A creature with 8 eyes and too many tentacles approached their table. It wore the uniform of an arena official. "Next registration," the creature said in broken galactic standard. Hyunwoo stood and approached the desk. Baram rose with him, staying exactly 2 feet behind his left shoulder. The dog had been trained since he was a puppy to maintain this position during official meetings. "Name and species," the official said, not looking up from its datapad. "Captain, Hyunwoo, human, from planet Earth in the Sol system." The official's 8 eyes finally looked up. It stared at Hyunwoo for a long moment, then looked down at Baram. "What is that creature?" it asked. "This is Baram. He is a dog. On Earth, humans and dogs have been partners for over 15,000 years. We hunt together, fight together, and live together." The official's tentacles writhed in what might have been confusion. "Only 1 contestant per species is allowed in arena combat." Hyunwoo had expected this problem. He pulled out a data tablet and showed it to the official. According to arena rules, natural abilities and normal combat behaviors are permitted. This includes partnerships that are part of a species' evolution and culture. The official studied the tablet. The rules were indeed unclear about this situation. No species had ever brought an animal partner before. "Wait here," the official said. It slithered away on its tentacles, taking Hyunwoo's tablet with it. Other contestants in the registration area began to notice the commotion. A crystal being pointed at Baram and made sounds like grinding stone. A 6-armed warrior laughed, showing sharp teeth. They seemed to think bringing a small animal was a sign of weakness. Hyunwoo ignored them. He had faced doubt before. When he first joined the Terran Defense Corps, other soldiers questioned whether dogs belonged on the battlefield. That changed after Baram saved an entire squad from an ambush on the Kepler colony. Baram sensed the attention from the other contestants. His ears went flat against his head, and a low growl rumbled in his chest. The sound was so quiet that only Hyunwoo could hear it. "Easy, boy," Hyunwoo whispered, placing a hand on the dog's head. "They do not understand us yet." 3 arena officials returned with the 8-eyed creature. They spoke in rapid clicks and whistles for several minutes. Hyunwoo could not understand their language, but their body language was clear. They were arguing. Finally, the senior official approached. This one was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. "Human contestant," it said in perfect galactic standard. "Your request is unusual. We have consulted the rule database and found no specific prohibition against combat partnerships that are natural to a species." Hyunwoo nodded. "On Earth, humans rarely fight alone when we have a choice. We are pack hunters and team fighters. Baram and I are not human plus dog. We are one combat unit." The official studied them both carefully. "The animal appears intelligent. It responds to your movements and voice. This suggests genuine partnership rather than simple tool use." "Baram has been through the same combat training I have," Hyunwoo explained. "He can follow complex orders, adapt to changing situations, and make independent tactical decisions." We have fought together in 3 different conflicts, the officials conferred again. The debate lasted 20 minutes. Other contestants grew impatient and complained loudly. Some threatened to withdraw if the humans were given special treatment. The senior official raised all 4 hands for silence. Decision has been reached. The human and canine partnership will be permitted. However, both must register as a single contestant. If either is defeated or surrenders, both are eliminated. Hyun-woo smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. Understood and agreed. Your combat designation will be listed as Human Canine Team, the official continued. Weight class is combined total of both participants. Are there any weapons or equipment to declare? Hyun-woo showed them his simple wooden staff. It was made from oak wood grown on earth, carved by hand, and balanced perfectly for his height and reach. This staff, and our natural abilities. The official examined the weapon. It was clearly not advanced technology, just a length of carved wood with no hidden features or energy sources. Approved. You are registered for today's challenge matches. Report to staging area 4 at the designated time. Word of the unusual registration spread quickly through the station. By the time Hyun-woo and Baram reached their assigned waiting area, crowds of aliens were gathering to stare at them. Some seemed curious. They had never seen a partnership between 2 different species before. Others appeared dismissive. A dog was still just an animal to them. No matter how well trained, a few seemed genuinely interested in the tactical possibilities. These were the professional fighters and military officers who understood that the best strategies often came from unexpected sources. Hyun-woo found a quiet corner of the staging area and sat down to meditate. This was his pre-combat ritual, a way to center his mind and prepare for battle. Baram lay down beside him, but the dog's eyes never closed. He was on guard duty. On the viewing screens around the staging area, they could watch the first matches of the day. Vextor defeated his first opponent in less than 3 minutes. The crystal being never had a chance against the champion's speed and precision. The crowd in the staging area fell silent as they watched. Even seasoned fighters were impressed by Vextor's skill. He did not just overpower his enemies, he outthought them, finding weaknesses and exploiting them ruthlessly. The second match lasted slightly longer. The 6-armed warrior put up a better fight, but the result was the same. Vextor stood victorious while medical crews carried away another defeated challenger. We are next, Hyun-woo said quietly to Baram. The dog's tail moved once in acknowledgement. He understood more human speech than most people realized. He also understood the seriousness of their situation. An arena worker approached them. This one was humanoid, but covered in short gray fur. Human team, you are called to the arena floor. Hyun-woo stood and picked up his staff. Baram rose with him, taking his proper position at Hyun-woo's left side. They walked together toward the arena entrance. As they passed other contestants, the reactions were mixed. Some laughed or made jokes about humans bringing pets to fight their battles. Others watched with professional interest, trying to understand what they were seeing. One creature, covered in thick scales and carrying multiple weapons, spoke as they passed. The champion will crush you both in seconds, soft skin. Hyun-woo paused and looked at the speaker calmly. Perhaps, but it will not be as easy as he expects. The arena entrance loomed ahead of them. Beyond it lay bright lights, thousands of alien spectators, and the most dangerous opponent either of them had ever faced. Hyun-woo checked his staff one final time. The wood was smooth and familiar in his hands. Beside him, Baram's muscles were loose and ready. The dog's breathing was steady and controlled. They were as prepared as they could be. Ready, partner? Hyun-woo asked softly. Baram looked up at him, with intelligent brown eyes, and wagged his tail once. Together, they stepped into the arena. The arena fell completely silent as Hyun-woo and Baram entered the fighting circle. Thousands of alien eyes watched their every step. Some spectators had never seen a human before. Even fewer had seen a dog. Across the arena, Vextor waded in, the center of the combat zone. The massive reptilian warrior looked even larger up close. His green scales caught the bright arena lights. His yellow eyes tracked the human and dog with cold interest. "So small," Vextor said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "This will be over before it begins." Hyunwoo said nothing. He walked steadily toward the center line, his wooden staff held loosely in one hand. Bahram moved beside him with perfect precision, staying exactly at his partner's left side. The arena announcer's voice boomed across the space. "In the final match of today's challenges, we have an unprecedented contest. The undefeated champion Vextor faces the human canine team from Earth." The crowd began to cheer and make noise. Most of them expected another quick victory. The betting displays around the arena showed odds of 50-1 against the human team. Vextor stepped closer to examine his opponents. The human looked calm, but very small compared to him. The dog was even smaller, weighing maybe 70 pounds. Neither showed any sign of fear, which surprised him slightly. "You have made a mistake coming here, soft creature," Vextor growled at Hyunwoo. "Your animal cannot help you against me." Hyunwoo finally spoke. His voice was steady and respectful. "We shall see." The arena referee, a floating sphere with multiple sensors, moved to the center of the combat circle. "Contestants, the rules are simple. Victory comes through surrender, knockout, or referee stoppage. No weapons except those registered, no outside assistance. Are both sides ready?" Vextor cracked his knuckles, making sounds like breaking bones. "Ready!" Hyunwoo shifted his grip on his staff and glanced down at Bahram. The dog's ears were up and alert. His muscles were loose but ready to explode into action. "Ready!" Hyunwoo said. The referee rose higher into the air. "Begin combat." Vextor immediately launched himself forward with terrifying speed. His strategy was simple and had worked 147 times before. Hit hard and fast before the opponent could react or plan. But something unexpected happened. Instead of standing together to face the charge, Hyunwoo and Bahram suddenly split apart. The human rolled left, while the dog darted right. Vextor's massive claws swept through empty air where they had been standing. The champion's momentum carried him forward several more steps. He spun around, confused. His opponents were now on opposite sides of him, moving in perfect coordination. Bahram circled low and fast, staying just out of reach of Vextor's claws. The dog's brown and black fur was a blur as he changed direction constantly. His intelligent eyes never left the champion. Hyunwoo moved with equal precision, his staff ready but not yet attacking. He watched Vextor's movements carefully, learning the champion's balance and timing. Vextor swiped at the dog, but Bahram was already gone, darting between the champion's legs to the other side. As Vextor turned to follow the dog, Hyunwoo stepped in and struck with his staff. The wooden weapon hit Vextor's shoulder blade, not hard enough to cause damage, but enough to get his attention. The champion spun toward the human, claws extended for a killing blow. But now Bahram was behind him, nipping at his ankles and jumping away before the champion could react. Vextor spun again, growing frustrated. The crowd began to murmur with interest. They had never seen anything like this. Most arena combat was straightforward. Two fighters met in the center and used strength against strength until one won. This was completely different. Vextor tried to corner one of his opponents against the arena wall, but every time he focused on the human, the dog created a distraction. Every time he went after the dog, the human struck from his blind side. Their coordination was perfect. They moved like dancers who had practiced together for years. When one attacked, the other was already moving to the next position. When one retreated, the other advanced. "Fight me properly!" Vextor snarled in frustration. "Stop running like cowards." Neither Hyunwoo nor Bahram responded to the insult. They continued their careful, coordinated assault. Each strike was precisely placed and timed. None were powerful enough to seriously hurt the champion, but they were wearing him down mentally. Vextor had never faced opponents who refused to meet his strength with strength. His usual tactics were useless against enemies who would not stay still long enough to be hit. The alien crowd was becoming more interested by the minute. Betting odds began to shift slightly as spectators realized this might not be the quick victory they expected. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Vextor had never fought a match that lasted this long in over a year. The champion changed his strategy. Instead of trying to catch both opponents, he decided to eliminate the smaller threat first. He focused all his attention on the dog, ignoring the human completely. It was a mistake. Barum led Vextor in a running chase around the arena perimeter. The dog was faster and more agile than the massive reptile. He could change direction instantly while Vextor needed several steps to adjust his course. While the champion exhausted himself chasing the dog, Yunwu moved to a perfect attack position. His staff work was masterful, striking nerve points and joint locations that disrupted Vextor's balance and coordination. The crowd was now on its feet. They had never seen tactical fighting like this before. Most species fought as individuals. The concept of two minds working as one was fascinating and terrifying. Vextor finally realized his mistake. He stopped chasing the dog and turned to face the human, but Barum immediately attacked his blind side. When he spun toward the dog, Hyunwoo was ready with another precise strike. 15 minutes had passed. Vexator's breathing was becoming labored. Sweat ran down his scaled face. His movements were slightly slower than when the match began. The human and dog showed no signs of tiring. If anything, they seemed to be getting stronger and more coordinated as the fight continued. For the first time in 3 years, Vextor began to doubt himself. These opponents represented something he had never encountered before. They were not trying to overpower him. They were trying to outthink him. And it was working. The champion realized he needed to end this quickly before he exhausted himself, completely. He gathered his strength for one final, overwhelming assault that would crush both opponents at once. But as he prepared his attack, he noticed something that chilled him to his core. The human and dog were watching him with complete calm. They knew exactly what he was planning. They were ready for him. 20 minutes into the fight, something remarkable was becoming clear to everyone watching. The human and dog were not just working together, they were thinking together. Hyunwoo had not spoken a single word to Barum since the fight began. Yet, the dog responded to the smallest hand signals, the slightest shift in body position, even the direction of his partner's eyes. Their coordination was so perfect it seemed like magic to the alien spectators. When Vextor adapted to one pattern of attack, they instantly changed to another. When he learned to watch for the dog's movements, they shifted the focus to the human's strikes. Every time the champion thought he understood their strategy, they revealed a new layer of complexity. In the crowd, military officers from different species leaned forward in their seats. They recognized tactical brilliance when they saw it. This was not random cooperation. This was the result of thousands of years of evolution and partnership between two species. Vextor wiped sweat from his scaled brow. His chest heaved as he tried to catch his breath. The constant need to track two opponents was mentally exhausting. Every decision had to account for 4 legs, 2 minds, and countless possible combinations of attacks. Impossible, he muttered to himself. How do they know what each other will do? The answer was written in every movement they made. Hyunwoo and Barum had fought together for 6 years. They had shared countless battles, training sessions, and quiet moments. Each knew the other's thoughts almost before they formed. When Barum's ears flicked toward the left, Hyunwoo knew the dog had detected something in Vextor's stance. When Hyunwoo shifted his weight slightly forward, Barum understood that an attack was coming and positioned himself accordingly. They were predator and partner, hunter and companion, warrior and friend. On Earth, this bond had helped humans survive ice ages, hunt massive beasts, and build civilization. Now it was helping them face the galaxy's greatest fighter. Vextor tried a new approach. He moved to the center of the arena and waited, forcing his opponents to come to him. But even this failed. The human and dog simply circled him in opposite directions, staying just out of reach and striking whenever he turned toward one or the other. The crowd was now completely invested in the fight. Aliens who had never heard of Earth were cheering for the human team. Others were calling for Vextor to show why he was champion. The arena had never been so loud. Betting displays showed the odds continuing to shift. What had started as a certain victory for Vextor was now being called even by many observers. Vextor noticed the crowd's changing mood and felt something he had not experienced in years: pressure. The expectation of victory that had once motivated him now felt like a weight on his shoulders. He launched another series of attacks, each one faster and more desperate than the last. But Hyunwoo and Baram flowed around his strikes like water. When his claws swept low, they jumped. When he struck high, they ducked. When he charged forward, they simply were not there. The champion began to understand that he was not fighting two individuals. He was fighting one opponent with two bodies. Every tactical decision was shared instantly between them. Every weakness one discovered was immediately exploited by both. Baram darted in close, his teeth finding the soft spot behind Vextor's knee. The bite was not deep enough to cause serious injury, but it sent a shock of pain up the champion's leg. As Vextor bent to swipe at the dog, Hyunwoo's staff caught him in the ribs. The wooden weapon struck with perfect timing and placement. Vextor stumbled sideways, his balance disrupted. For a moment he was completely vulnerable. But instead of pressing their advantage, the human and dog stepped back. They were not trying to seriously hurt him. They were proving a point. "You fight with honor," Vextor said, his voice showing grudging respect. "But honor will not save you." Hyunwoo finally spoke, his voice calm despite the intensity of the battle. "We do not fight with honor alone. We fight with trust." The champion did not understand what the human meant, but he could see it in every movement they made. The dog trusted the human completely, following his lead without question. The human trusted the dog's instincts and reactions without doubt. Vextor had always fought alone. His species believed that individual strength was the highest virtue. Relying on others was seen as weakness. But watching these two creatures move as one, he began to wonder if his people had missed something important. 25 minutes had passed. The champion's movements were noticeably slower now. His attacks, while still dangerous, lacked the lightning speed that had defeated so many opponents. Hyunwoo and Baram, by contrast, seemed to grow stronger with each passing minute. Their coordination became even more seamless, their attacks more precise. They had found their rhythm and were fighting at their absolute peak. The arena announcer's voice cut through the crowd noise. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, we are witnessing something unprecedented. This match has now lasted longer than any fight in Vextor's championship career." The crowd erupted in cheers and alien equivalents of amazement. They were watching history being made. Vextor heard the announcement and felt a chill run down his spine. He was no longer just fighting for victory. He was fighting to maintain everything he had built over 3 years of dominance. He gathered himself for what he hoped would be a final assault. All his remaining strength and speed would go into one overwhelming attack. If it failed, he was not sure he had enough energy left for another attempt. But as he prepared to move, he caught sight of his opponent's eyes. Both the human and the dog were watching him with complete focus. They knew exactly what he was planning. They had been waiting for this moment. Vextor realized with growing horror that they had not just been reacting to his attacks. They had been guiding the entire fight toward this point. Every strike, every movement, Every tactical decision had been designed to bring him to this state of exhaustion and desperation. He was not just fighting two opponents. He was fighting two opponents who had already won the battle in their minds and were now simply making it reality. For the first time in over 100 fights, Vextor felt something he had forgotten existed. Fear. The human raised his staff slightly. The dog's muscles tensed for action. Both were ready for whatever the champion could throw at them. Vextor had one chance left. He would have to make it count. 30 minutes had passed since the fight began. Vextor had never fought a match that lasted this long. His massive body, which had always been his greatest advantage, now felt heavy and slow. The champion stood in the center of the arena, his scaled chest rising and falling rapidly. Sweat dripped from his green skin onto the combat floor. His yellow eyes, which had always shown confidence and dominance, now revealed something new. Fear. Not fear of death or injury. Vextor was too experienced a warrior to fear physical harm. This was something deeper and more troubling. It was the fear of discovering that everything he believed about strength might be wrong. Across from him, Hyunwoo held his wooden staff with steady hands. The human showed signs of effort, but nothing like the exhaustion that was overwhelming the champion. His breathing was controlled and even. Baram sat beside his partner, tongue hanging out slightly, but eyes still sharp and alert. The dog looked like he could fight for hours more. His brown and black fur was barely damp with sweat. The arena crowd had grown quieter as the match continued. The excitement was still there, but it was mixed with amazement and disbelief. Many spectators were seeing something they had thought impossible. Vextor tried to understand what had gone wrong with his strategy. He had used the same tactics for 3 years without a single defeat. Rush forward with overwhelming force, use superior size and strength to end fights quickly, but these opponents had turned his greatest strengths into weaknesses. Every charge had been avoided or redirected. Every powerful attack had missed its target. They had used his own momentum against him while conserving their energy. The champion realized he was not just fighting two opponents, he was fighting a completely different philosophy of combat. His species had always believed that individual power was the ultimate weapon. The strongest warrior would always defeat the weaker one. These creatures from Earth had proven that belief wrong. They fought as one mind in two bodies. When the dog moved left, the human was already adjusting his position to take advantage. When the human attacked, the dog was already moving to cut off escape routes. Their coordination was so perfect it seemed supernatural. But Vextor was beginning to understand that it was something much more powerful than magic. It was the result of thousands of years of evolution and partnership. The champion flexed his claws and tried to ignore the burning pain in his muscles. He had to end this fight soon, but he was running out of options. For the first time in his career, Vextor decided to try talking instead of fighting. "Human," he called out, his deep voice echoing in the suddenly quiet arena. "You fight unlike any warrior I have known." Hyunwoo tilted his head slightly, surprised by the attempt at conversation. "Every species has its own way of fighting." "Your way is not the way of warriors," Vextor said, though there was no insult in his tone. "It is the way of hunters." "Yes," Hyunwoo replied simply. "My people learned to hunt in groups. We learned that working together made us stronger than any individual could be alone." Vexator looked at the dog with new understanding. "And his people learned alongside yours. For 15,000 years, humans and dogs have been partners. We hunt together, fight together, live together. We trust each other completely." The champion had never heard of such a thing. His own species fought as individuals. Cooperation was considered a sign of weakness. The strongest warrior fought alone and won through personal power. But watching these two creatures move as one, Vextor began to wonder if his people had missed something important. 15,000 years, he repeated slowly. "My species has been warriors for much longer, but we have always fought alone. That is why you will lose, Hyunwoo said without arrogance. Not because you are weak, but because you only know one kind of strength. Vextor felt anger flash through him at the suggestion that he would lose. But as he looked at his opponents, he had to admit they might be right. They had fought him to a standstill, using tactics he could not counter. The champion decided to make one final attempt to win through traditional means. He gathered all his remaining strength and speed for one overwhelming assault. If this failed, he was not sure he had enough energy left for another try. But as he prepared to attack, he noticed something that chilled him. Both the human and the dog were watching him with complete calm. They showed no fear or concern about his gathering power. They knew exactly what he was planning, and they were ready for it. Vextor launched himself forward with everything he had left, his claws extended fully. His powerful legs drove him toward his opponents with terrifying speed. This attack would crush anything in its path, but his opponents were not in its path. Hyunwoo rolled to the left while Baram darted to the right. Vextor's claws swept through empty air once again. His momentum carried him forward several more steps before he could stop. As he turned to face his opponents, he realized he had made a critical error. The massive effort had left him off balance and exposed. His guard was down, and his positioning was terrible. Baram seized the opportunity instantly. The dog leaped onto Vextor's extended arm, his claws finding purchase on the scaled skin. His weight and momentum carried him up toward the champion's shoulder. Vextor tried to shake off the dog, but this left him completely vulnerable to Hyunwoo's counterattack. The human moved with precise timing, his staff striking exactly where it would do the most damage. The wooden weapon connected with a nerve cluster at the base of Vextor's neck. Pain shot through the champion's entire body. His vision blurred and his legs wobbled. Baram's position on his shoulder made everything worse. The dog's weight threw off his balance just as Hyunwoo swept his legs. For the first time in 3 years, the undefeated champion fell. Vextor hit the arena floor hard. The impact drove the breath from his lungs and sent shock waves through his massive frame. He tried to get up immediately, but his body would not respond properly. The human and dog stood over him, ready to continue the fight if necessary. But there was no cruelty in their stance. They had defeated him, but they took no pleasure in his pain. The arena fell completely silent. Thousands of alien spectators stared in shock at the impossible sight. Their unbeatable champion was on the ground, defeated by opponents half his size. Vextor lay there for several seconds, trying to process what had happened. His entire understanding of combat and strength had been shattered in 30 minutes. But as the initial shock faded, he felt something unexpected: relief. For 3 years, he had carried the weight of being undefeatable. Every fight had to end in victory, or his reputation would be destroyed. The pressure had been enormous, even though he had never admitted it to himself. Now that burden was gone. He had been beaten fairly by superior tactics and teamwork. There was no shame in losing to opponents who had revolutionized the very concept of combat. Slowly, carefully, Vextor pushed himself up to a sitting position. His body ached in places he had forgotten could hurt. But his mind was clearer than it had been in years. He looked up at Hyunwoo and Baram, who were still ready to defend themselves if he attacked again. "I yield," Vextor said quietly. Then, louder so the entire arena could hear, "I surrender this match. The victory belongs to the human canine team." The arena exploded into chaos. Some spectators cheered wildly at witnessing history. Others sat in stunned silence, unable to believe what they had seen. A few were already discussing the implications of this new style of fighting, but Hyunwoo and Baram simply stood together, in the center of it all, calm and dignified in their impossible victory. The age of individual champions was ending. The age of partnerships had begun. The arena exploded into the loudest celebration in its history. Beings from hundreds of worlds were on their feet, creating a symphony of cheers, roars, clicks, and sounds that had no names in any human language. For the first time in 3 years, Vextor was not the victor. The massive reptilian stood in the center of the combat circle, staring at the human and dog who had achieved the impossible. His yellow eyes showed no anger or shame. Instead, there was something that surprised everyone who saw it. Wonder Hyun-woo approached the fallen champion, his wooden staff held low and non-threatening. Baram walked beside him, alert but calm. They moved with the same careful coordination they had shown throughout the fight. "You fought with great skill and honor," Hyun-woo said, extending his hand to help Vextor stand. The champion looked at the offered hand for a long moment. In his culture, accepting help from a defeated enemy was considered weakness. But he was beginning to understand that many things he had considered weakness might actually be strength. Vextor grasped the human's much smaller hand and allowed himself to be helped to his feet. The gesture sent a ripple of shock through the alien crowd. The proud champion had never shown such humility before. "I have learned something today," Vextor said, his deep voice carrying over the noise of the crowd. "I thought strength came from fighting alone." "I was wrong," Hyun-woo nodded respectfully. "On Earth we have a saying, a single arrow is easily broken, but a bundle of arrows is unbreakable." "Your partner," Vextor said, looking down at Baram. "He is more than an animal, is he not?" "Much more," Hyun-woo replied. "Baram is my friend, my brother, my family. We trust each other completely. That trust makes us both stronger than we could ever be alone." The dog looked up at the massive alien and wagged his tail once. There was no fear in his intelligent brown eyes, only curiosity about this new creature. Vextor slowly extended one clawed hand toward Baram. The dog sniffed carefully, then allowed the champion to gently scratch behind his ears. "Remarkable," Vextor murmured. "He shows no fear of me, even after our battle." "Dogs do not hold grudges," Hyun-woo explained. "The fight is over, so now you are just another being to meet and understand." The arena announcer finally managed to make itself heard over the celebrating crowd. "Citizens of the galaxy, we have witnessed history today. For the first time since taking the championship, Vextor has been defeated. The new arena champion is the human canine team from Earth, the I. Cheering grew even louder. Many spectators had won incredible amounts of money betting on the impossible outcome. Others were simply amazed to have seen such an incredible display of teamwork and strategy. But not everyone was celebrating. In the VIP sections, several military commanders from different species were having urgent conversations. They had seen something that worried them greatly. If humans could fight like this with animals, what could they do with proper military allies? What could they accomplish if they formed partnerships with other intelligent species? Some saw opportunity. Others saw threat. All of them realized that the balance of power in the galaxy might be shifting. Hyun-woo raised his hand for silence. Slowly, the arena began to quiet down. When he had everyone's attention, he spoke in a clear voice that carried to every corner of the massive space. "I am honored to be called champion," he said, "but I will not be staying to defend this title. I have duties on Earth that require my attention." The crowd murmured with disappointment. They wanted to see more fights like this one. "However," Hyun-woo continued, "I hope that what happened here today will inspire others to explore the power of partnership and cooperation. The galaxy is full of species who could accomplish amazing things by working together." Vextor stepped forward. "If you will not stay as champion, then I ask to withdraw my own claim to the title. Today has shown me that individual combat is only one way to measure strength. Perhaps it is time for the arena to evolve." The crowd fell silent at this unexpected announcement. The arena officials looked confused and began urgent discussions among themselves. What do you propose? Hyunwoo asked. Team competitions, Vextor replied. Partnerships between species. Let the galaxy see what cooperation can accomplish. The idea spread through the crowd like wildfire. Spectators began discussing the possibilities with excitement. Mixed teams of aliens fighting together, combining different strengths and abilities, creating new forms of strategy and tactics. Arena officials realized they were sitting on a potential gold mine. Team competitions could draw even larger crowds than individual matches. The betting possibilities alone were staggering. An excellent suggestion, the senior arena official announced. The Nexus Prime Combat Arena will begin hosting team competitions within 1 month. Registration will be open to partnerships from any and all species. The crowd erupted once again, but this time the cheering had a different quality. It was not just excitement about entertainment. It was anticipation of something new and important. Representatives from dozens of species were already planning. Which races would work well together? What combinations of abilities would be most effective? How could traditional enemies learn to fight as allies? Hyunwoo and Baram made their way toward the arena exit. They were stopped dozens of times by aliens wanting to congratulate them, ask questions, or propose partnerships. A crystalline being offered to share its natural armor with human fighters. A 6-armed warrior wanted to learn Earth combat tactics. Energy creatures proposed combining their abilities with human strategy and canine senses. Each conversation was polite but brief. Hyunwoo was eager to return home and report what had happened. Baram was starting to get tired from all the attention and strange smells. As they finally reached the exit, Vextor caught up with them one last time. Captain Hyunwoo, the former champion said, I have a request. Yes? I would like to visit your Earth someday. I want to learn more about these partnerships your species has formed. Perhaps my people could benefit from such knowledge. Hyunwoo smiled, the first time he had shown such emotion since arriving at the station. You would be welcome. But I should warn you, Earth has many different types of partnerships. Humans work with dogs, cats, horses, dolphins, and dozens of other species. It might be overwhelming at first. I think, Vextor said slowly, that overwhelming might be exactly what my people need. 3 hours later, Hyunwoo and Baram were aboard their transport ship, heading back to Earth. The dog was sleeping peacefully in his travel harness, exhausted but content. Hyunwoo stared out the viewport at the stars and wondered what they had started. The galaxy was about to discover something that Earth had known for thousands of years. The strongest bonds were not forged by fear or dominance, but by trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. As their ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying them home, news of their victory was already spreading across known space. Within days, it would reach every inhabited world. The human canine team had won more than just a single fight. They had planted a seed that would grow into something much larger. A new age of cooperation was beginning, and it had all started with a man and his faithful dog, showing the galaxy what partnership really meant.